Hi, I'm Tori St. Cyr. Welcome to the Clear and Present Truth. In today's study, we're going to answer one simple question, and that is, what is the sanctuary? In the 8th chapter of Daniel, the prophet is given a vision of the future kingdoms. We already understand that when he saw the ram, he saw Medo-Persia. We know that when he saw the goat, he saw Greece. And we understand that when he saw the 4 horns, he saw the divided Greek Empire. And we also understand that when he saw the little horn, he saw the kingships of the Roman Empire. But then the angel reveals something to Daniel, and I want you to pay close attention to it. Notice what he tells the prophet in Daniel 8 and verse 14. And he said unto me, unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. Now, there's so much to unpack here. And we could begin this study by determining when the 2,300 days begins and when the 2,300 days ends. But I believe before we even get to the time frames of this prophecy, we must determine exactly what is being cleansed. And that's why we're going to begin this study answering the question, what is the sanctuary? In the Bible, we see God instructing Moses with the following words, and let them make me a sanctuary that I may dwell among them. So at this point, all we know is that the sanctuary was a structure that God commanded his people to build so that he can dwell with them. Now, even though God is everywhere at the same time, it seems to me that his people could have access to him in a special way through the structure called the sanctuary. Now, through the description given in the Bible, we have a pretty good idea what this sanctuary looked like. In the very next verse, the Bible says, according to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even shall ye make it. In essence, God showed Moses a template, and he was to build the sanctuary based off of this template. Now, the details of what this sanctuary was supposed to look like are found in the book of Exodus. But let's look at an abbreviated description found in the book of Hebrews. In Hebrews 9, the Bible says, then verily the first covenant had also ordinances of divine service and a worldly or earthly sanctuary. For there was a tabernacle made, the first, wherein was the candlestick, and the table, and the showbread, which is called the sanctuary. And after the second veil, the tabernacle, which is called the holiest of all. Now, what you must understand is that this tabernacle was originally a tent. The reason why was so the children of Israel could set it up and take it down as they traveled from Egypt to the promised land. Now, notice verse 2 says the first, and verse 3 says the second. Here, the first and the second refer to the compartments of the sanctuary. The first compartment was called the Hagias, or holy place, and the second compartment was called the Hagias Hagias, which is translated the Holy of Holies, which we often call the most holy place. Now, this is the structure that was considered a focal point for the children of Israel. You see, not only was this a place where God dwelled with his people, but the sanctuary was also the way that God dealt with the sins of his people. Notice what the Bible says in Hebrews 9:22. And almost all things are by the law purged with blood, and without shedding of blood is no remission. So understand that there needed to be blood shedding in order to have remission of sin. Now notice what the Bible says about that sin. In Hebrews 13:11, it says, for the bodies of those beasts whose blood is brought into the sanctuary by the high priest for sin are burned without the camp. So here we see that the intent of the earthly sanctuary was not only that God could dwell with his people, but also so God could deal with the remission of their sins, which was facilitated through the service of the worldly, or what we call earthly sanctuary. Now, the question is, if God had the sanctuary built so that he can dwell with his people, why would that place ever require cleansing? I mean, think about it. If God's presence is in this structure called the sanctuary, how could that be a structure that would ever require cleansing? And now, if you want to know the answer to that question, stay tuned, because we're going to answer this question in our next study called, What is the Cleansing of the Sanctuary? I hope to see you there. God bless you.